Well, hello, ladies. Hello. So we'll start off this month with a book that I've read called Atomic Habits. This is a brilliant, brilliant book. And I've learned several things from it, and I just want to pass all that information on to you. A habit is something that you do every day, like brushing your teeth or when you wake up in the morning and you have coffee. That's a habit. That's something that you do naturally, and I don't have to explain it any further for you. What's interesting is that we each decide what is a good habit or a bad habit. I suppose it's just through the eyes of the beholder what is good and what is bad. How do you create a new habit? How do you start a new habit? And if I look in this book, I'm going to read you a short story, which is very, very interesting and really will lead us into this concept of starting a new habit. This is from chapter 5, and it says the best way to start a new habit. It says in 2001, researchers in Great Britain began working with 248 people to build better habits, exercise habits over the course of 2 weeks. The subjects were divided into 3 groups. The first group was the control group, and they were simply asked to track how often they exercised. The second group was the motivation group, and they were asked not only to track their workouts, but also to read some material on the benefits of exercise. The researchers also explained to the group how exercise could reduce their risk of coronary heart disease and improve heart health. And finally, there was a third group. These subjects received the same presentation as the second group, which ensured that they had equal levels of motivation. However, they were also asked to formulate a plan for when and where they would exercise over the following week. Specifically, each member of the third group completed the following sentence. During the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on this day, at this time, and in this place. In the first and second groups, 35 to 36% of the people exercised at least once per week. Interestingly, the motivational presentation given to the second group seemed to have no meaningful impact on behavior. But 91% of the third group exercised at least once per week. That's more than double the normal rate. The sentence they filled out is what researchers refer to as an implementation intention, which is a plan to make beforehand and where to act. This is how you intend to make a particular habit. And I think that really sets this whole thing in motion. It just goes to show that if you have a plan and you write the plan down in any form, you're more likely to continue with the plan, and ultimately in the context of what we're talking about or what I'm talking about, it's to change a habit or to create a habit. And so the next question that the author posed, and that I think is very, very interesting, is how do you break a habit? And the author suggests that you make the habit unappealing and unattractive. Case in point, my example is, why would you eat junk food? Why would you eat junk food after your dinner while watching television? So in my mind, I think, well, did you not eat enough at dinner? And that goes down the road, well, how did you eat your food at dinner time? Were you sitting down at the table, or were you standing up in the kitchen, or were you driving from point A to point B? So why are you hungry? And the second thing is, are you just, as you're sitting there watching television, nibbling away, well, are you just bored? And maybe you should be doing something else, not sitting and watching television. Maybe you should be reading a book or starting a hobby or doing something else. And to take it even further is, if you examine this habit, this unhealthy habit that you really want to change, if you ask yourself, in the case of the nibbling of food, junk food while you're watching the television, if you ask yourself, well, what is this food doing to my health? What is it doing to my health today, but long term? And then and that, in my mind, is making something that you're doing, that you're the nibbling of the food unattractive because you're thinking, well, what exactly am I doing to my body? And how can I remedy this? How can I get rid of this bad habit that I have created?
And it's worth remembering that you decide what is a good habit and what is a bad habit. We all have a free will.
Another question answered in this book and talked about and quite deeply is, well, how long does it take to build a new habit? And if you do any research on the internet, if you Google it, you will see that most people say it takes 3 weeks, 21 days to change a habit. And the author is, by the way, James Clear. He states that he does not believe this. He's studied this for many, many years, but he believes, and really I'm tending to believe him as well and follow his thought process, that it's repetition that creates a brand new habit. So it's not necessarily taking 21 days, but it's the repetition of doing that act over and over and over again. Because if you think about it, you could be creating a new habit and you do it once, and at the end of the 21 days, you might think, okay, well, where's my new habit? But it's repeating that action that creates the new habit. It makes perfect sense to me. So it's the frequency of creating that action, of continuously doing that action that really makes the difference, not in terms of number of days, but the frequency in which you do the new habit. And he also notes not to skip more than 2 days. Now, don't be hard on yourself if you have to, but do your best to continue with this new habit of completion every 2 days. Recently, I did an exercise where I actually tracked my habits in terms of my work ethic and what I do, because I tend to go over the top in terms of working all the time. And so I tracked that over a 30-day period. And at the end of the month, if I'm honest, I wasn't too surprised. But one thing that I lack is having fun because I work.
So I took this challenge. It was called a Miracle Month. And I looked at my daily routine, as you can see. And one of the areas that that was called to look for is having fun. As you can see, that's highlighted in the pink. And in each day, I asked myself the question, have I had fun, or am I having fun? And as you can see, the areas that are circled in the purple, well, those are the days when I deemed I didn't have fun. And right here you can see it was 15 days. That was half the month. So I would not have really been brought to my attention unless I had looked at this. Now, also, let me say that I love to work. But there is a point where, and to most entrepreneurs, most business owners, they think it's fun, but there comes a point where, there's a fine line between work and exhaustion. So this was a very interesting exercise, and that's why I believe this tracker that I've created for you will be really, really valuable.
I have created, and the whole point of this conversation is that I have created a tracker for you so that you can see exactly what your habits are. And the premise is to use the recipe for a simple life. And those ingredients I will go over with you now. And I would suggest just follow this method for a month and see where you can make improvements in your habits. So the first ingredient in my recipe for creating a simple life is a place for everything and everything in its place. So as you go through your month, at the end of the day or during the day, just once, not making a big thing of this, but is everything in its place that it should be in your home? If it is, take it off. The next ingredient is one in and one out, meaning before you buy something, have in your mind what is going out. In the case of food, well, what is going out in terms of you've used the item or you've used the article, but when anything comes into your house, something has got to go out. It's reducing the clutter. The next thing is, as you're going about your day, to look around you and see if everything you have around you is what you love. Love what you have. And if there's something that you don't really have fond feelings for, well, then get rid of it. But keep track of this in this month. And the fourth ingredient is to take a baby steps in changing your life and to a simple life. And in anything that you do it slowly. So for example, if you've decided that you want to clear out a drawer, well, do it slowly. Take it in baby steps. And again, refer back to this worksheet and check it off. Finally, on the recipe for living a simple life, which is going to be on this habit tracker for you, is the nothingness effect, which is something that I struggle with. But I do work at it. I'm trying to master it. Maybe you can get a habit. But the nothingness effect is during your day, sitting and doing nothing, walking and doing nothing, just being and doing nothing. And that's very, very important to refuel your mind and your soul. So the nothingness effect is something that I would ask you to practice. Those are the ingredients for living a simple life, which I've gone over before. As you go through your month, just make a check on the box next to that month. Did you apply all these ingredients to your life? And this will lead you to create a new habit of living a simple life. If you have any questions, please let me know. Toodles. Take care. Bye.